And we are live. Another broadcast in the Roofing on the Rise studios, where we bring you innovation and education in today's market. Today and every day, we are sponsored by the ROOFNUTS. When you're looking for an amazing lead generation outbound call center, ROOFNUTS is the company for you. And here's why. I partnered with ROOFNUTS to bring about an awesome lead generation platform for my roofing company. And the awesome benefits to this is that with the ROOFNUTS, you know that you're going to meet with your client, that the client wants you there, and that they're not under contract with another contractor. And they're going to be there at that specified time, and that they've been affected by some sort of catastrophe or wind or hail or tornado, some sort of weather event. Not only do you know that they are within that, but ROOFNUTS are going to provide you with the map, the date, and the time in which that they were affected. So that empowers you as a sales rep, as an owner, whenever you're out at the property and you're like, oh, dude. And for me, it's like I'm in the Houston area. I'm over in Cyprus. I'm like, dude, what was the date of loss over here in Cyprus? Like, what was the hail date over here? Well, I don't have to worry about that. The ROOFNUTS has me covered. And if you're wondering, like, how do I get to the ROOFNUTS? I need leads. Like, I need leads now. There is a link right here. You just click this link, get leads from the ROOFNUTS, and there's a form, super easy. Fill out a couple of information, your name, telephone number, address, stuff like that. Social security. I'm just kidding. Just a couple of basic information, and boom, you're going to get hooked up with the ROOFNUTS, and they will get you qualified leads. Okay. Now, I don't just say that because, they sponsor, but I say that because I run their leads, and their leads are freaking awesome. So go out and get you some leads from the ROOFNUTS, and they're doing like free classes and stuff all over the place. So look, if you're in Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, I think there's a actual ROOFNUTS training camp scheduled in your city. So just check out the roofnuts.com, also on Facebook, and see when those times are. And you could also get with me, the Roof Don, and I will get you those times and dates. Today and every day, we have an awesome guest and topic. Today is going to be no different. Today, we are talking with Vincent Falcone. Vincent, how are you? And did I pronounce your last name right?
Yeah, it's a little tweak to it. Falcone, if we're in Italy, but I've always been Falcone, like ice cream cone with a foul. So close enough. Good enough for a Houston homie. How about that?
I'll take that. And when I first met you, like one of the first things that came to my mind was the Falcone crime family on Batman, right? And so I'm a big Batman guy. Like I stand up and show you my calf. I've got Batman tattooed on my calf. Above all this awesome brick, there is a 4-piece art piece of Batman above me. I've got Harley Quinn over here. I'm a very, very big Batman guy. And so immediately I'm like, bro, I went into the fantasy world, but you snapped me back into the reality world, and you were like, dog, you know who the fuck I am? Like, you know my family? Like, tell me a little bit you don't have to go into great detail, but tell me a little bit about your family. Like, y'all are like the American crime family, like gangsters. Like, there are videos made about your family, right?
True. If you don't mind, first I'd like to keep the main thing, and give all credit to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him, I wouldn't have been rescued from all that crime story that you're talking about. Because my story really is the true story, and just like I sent you to the number 2 search engine in the world, YouTube. If you just simply YouTube my name, you'll see a few videos, one with a very common La Cosa Nostra, which is the Northeast crime family. And in fact, the boss, Nicodemo Scarfo, is my brother Lorenzo's real life godfather, or he was before he was imprisoned. Wow. And we'll get to a little bit of why he was in prison, part of which anyway. But when you go to that YouTube channel or such, you'll see a real deal story, real life story about what happened to my father. Now, while my story is somewhat gangster, I am not. Thank God. But my story is from the side of the victim. Now, if you look into my story, which is true, again, the videos and what you see, some of them are aided by AI. But if you look deep enough, there was an A&E special, and again, many books, which they're not mine yet. Shout out and look for my brother and I are currently working through our first book regarding this whole topic that we're speaking of. And that project will look forward to summer of 2025. Looking forward to that release this summer.
Congratulations.
June, July. Thank you very much. Yeah. Shout out to Bill Walsh and his whole team for helping me assist with that. Yeah, huge shout out to Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh, Angel Tucci, she's the Amazon bestseller guru that gets your book published with the quickness. She's helping my brother and I get our real life story to print and to the masses. But from my personal side, it is true story. My father, born in Calabria, Italy, that's mainland or the tip of the boot. My grandfather was born in Messina, Sicily, which is where our origins originate from. And of course, so does the original Italian mafia story. My father emigrated from Italy to Argentina first, like many Italians did post-World War II era, to just escape Italy and all of that stuff that was happening amongst all that stuff. So they went to Argentina, ended up here in the late 60s. I'm first of our whole entire family born in the United States, born in 1971. And just before I was born, began my father's journey with said La Cosa Nostra, an active member of that crime family. You'll see some of those claims of these AI-assisted videos where my father was called the hitman and the big shot and all that stuff. My father never killed anyone, and that, of course, our fine America's finest, our police, our FBI, they would have state's evidence upon state's evidence if he did. And in fact, likely the reason why my father was a victim rather than an assassin. So I'm born in 71. Long but short story. My father was a concrete worker and mason, master mason. In fact, that's why I left the screen open behind me. The stonework you see on the fireplace behind me are by his very own hands, master craftsman. So what you see behind me is original, more than 53 years old. I just tipped you off to my age. Shout out to good eating. But again, my father, big history in South Jersey, was instrumental part in the building of Caesars Hotel Casino. In fact, his company was the master craftsman for all of the flat work. If you know what flat work is, all of the tables and floors of all the high rise, the actual floors and the concrete sidewalks and walkways all in and around the casino. And it's been updated since then, but the original building and all of this, the concrete work, he, along with the Scarfo family, which that's Nicodemo Scarfo, as I mentioned, that's my brother's real life, not drama, Batman series, Godfather series, but my brother's real godfather, and subsequent leading to my father's demise. My father in 1979 was a victim of a killing, executed mafia style, and again, this is evidence, and there's no shame in my game. I'm happy to share it, because when you see the book and likely the series or movie series behind it, that Batman and the Penguin do a great job of depicting the kind of the background of it, but real life is real life, and I'm sitting here before you as real life. So That's
I
the
think that,
basic background. You can more than likely look it up yourself. Enjoy the read. There's several books: The Plumber, The Mafia Prince, which is the story about Philip Leonetti, who was the actual trigger man that made it all happen with my father. But typical mafia style, they do what they do, and you're looking at the results of a victim. And my brother and I wear that badge proudly.
yeah, yeah. You know, when we first met each other, that was one of the things, you know, you sent me into Google and stuff like that. And I even did it again today just to, you know, get fresh with it and really kind of grasp like the depths of really what a name or what someone's name could even mean. But, you know, a lot of people have seen a post that was put out by you this last week. You put it out on a couple of different forums, and one of those was your own personal Facebook page. So I'd like to focus in on that.
Sure.
And you stated some things that had happened at an IA firm. So first, could you tell me what happened? You don't have to tell me who, what, when, where. Just could you give me the brief what happened?
Sure. And I'll give you as much details as I'm willing to at this moment, because thankfully, because of the noise that was created, shout out to all the members throughout all of our community of roofing and sales and door to door and all things that we know and trust. There was a lot of buzz yesterday, a lot of stuff that happened that overwhelmed me with the responses. I was literally up till about 2 o'clock in the morning, responding to DMs that I've never seen so much. So shout out to all of you. Thank you very much for your encouragement. And of course, a couple of haters, but haters hate and encouragers just do what they do. But you encouragers, you really helped me prepare for today and really know that my next phase of my journey in life, I'm on the right path, and I'm certain. And thank you to all of you guys. But to keep it relevant, but yet somewhat still guarded, many of the things that I spoke about were somewhat vague, and they need to remain vague, like who the specific carriers were, the specific firms that were involved. Because shout out to Doug Quinn and the APA, the American Policyholders Association, that I'm actually willing and wanting to partner with them as part of an ongoing and active investigation, that I've already submitted some of that information and documentation and evidence to them. So everything that we're speaking about is facts, and you can fact check. And just, I encourage you, keep tuned in. Oh yeah, we'll get right into it. So my wife and I, my wife's also an adjuster. We were deployed with a mandatory in-person meeting in Orlando at a hotel in a ballroom for 2 straight days of 8 to 10 hour mandatory carrier specific training in order to handle some very large commercial claims. We're very excited because this was our first chance at cracking the commercial claims world. 4 years in the business. Of course, we're excited. We get into the room and they start giving guidelines on who and what, and we're going to write for and what they expect. Well, we of course expect what everyone expects, what we vow to: fair and honest, good faith. So we conduct ourselves, and so do many individuals in the room, both male and female, fantastic, just individuals in the industry. So first shot out the gate, they did make us all not just silence our phones, but put them away. And we just thought it was for, audio reasons. And so we'd pay attention. But thanks to a lot of you guys in the room, you opened my eyes to, they were wanting us to not be able to record and have live video and audio evidence of such. But we all took good notes, and thank God to email and email trails. I have so much email evidence from what we've done with them and the specific firm that, again, all this stuff is going to the APA. But one of the first things that they said was, So there's a lot of damages expected and happening already. And of course, you guys are all, many of you are roof experts. So, we're not going to go writing full roof replacements right out of the gate. So, of course, what do we need to inspect for?
Yeah.
So naturally, the questions started buzzing within the room. We let them finish, and I, being a roofer at heart and love to help the people. Again, that was my original intent to join that side, the IA side, was to have an impact at some level. Well, they squashed the impact, literally cut you off at the knees at that meeting, where just outright told the guidelines of what we're going to write, what we're not going to write, and again, somewhat handcuffed, but we still intended to, I'm just still going to do the right thing. I'm going to write for what I write and let them kick it back or whatever. Because of the buzz that was stirred throughout the room, the dynamic changed a little bit within the room. They kept the training throughout. We finished the entire training, again, 2 full days of mandatory, which we sadly none of us got paid for, which that's still part of this investigation that was a little bit criminal by labor laws in its intent, but that's another fight. But we left, and again, eager to jump on those claims. I was assigned several municipal buildings on the west coast of Florida. That's about as specific as I can get, because there were a couple different municipalities that I was assigned, and again, very eager to jump right in on and excited, and couldn't hurry home fast enough to begin the contacts and begin to prepare my schedule for inspections and all that stuff. When no sooner my wife and I arrived, and it wasn't a very far drive from Orlando. We lived just south of Cocoa Beach in Melbourne, Palm Bay area. And by the time I received at home and opened up my email, the more than 40 claims that I was assigned in that building had been erased or redacted or removed. So I thought it was a mistake, or maybe there was a glitch in my email. So naturally, I reached right out to the claims management team, and that's kind of what happened. And the initial excuse I was given was, well, there wasn't quite the damages that we expected, so many of the adjusters are not needed and they're going to be reassigned, or the claims were being reassigned. Well, that made no sense to me, because you had already assigned nearly 40, if not more, to me already. And again, some of those were already contacted on my behalf, that they were expecting me. Nevertheless, the commercial claims were assigned to me that they took back. My wife was actually assigned by the same firm all of our residential claims, because we work as a team. I'm Inspector Guru. In fact, my handle is kind of CSI Home Guy and Vin DMC, a little fun, but I pride myself on literally treating each individual home and property, whether commercial or residential, like a crime scene, because you need to document your evidence that way, because should and if there be an argument, it could eventually end up in court. So we do our due diligence and document as such. But so the story.
So after being trained to not cover roof replacements specifically, they sent you into the field with 40 claims plus to do, and then redacted 40 of the claims.
Correct. Not one left behind. Not one. Now, okay. I failed to mention this part. While they gave us specific instructions on what not to write on the roof, they said, go ahead and document, measure, and write all the interior damages, because that's very important, especially content. But let us determine if the roof actually needs replacement. Now, again, I pride myself on many things, but I started this roof journey back in 1991 as a local 30 union roofer in New Jersey. I know a little bit about roofing. I put many a system on with these very two hands. So I didn't see the reason why you wouldn't allow me to write for what I'm good at. But nevertheless, I had the right intention. I was going to go write it anyway and just make them change it. Well, they must have sensed it, felt it, or understood it. They took them back before I had that chance. We get home, mine are gone. My wife still has hers. I'm a part of an email chain at this point where it's not just me, a couple other very experienced adjusters. Same thing happened to them because they were upset within the room, also raising their hands with questions. So because of my unhappiness, the very next day, my wife, now she's assigned probably nearly 50 residential claims, erased. Next day, gone. So literally overnight affected both of our income immensely, because we own and operate. It's actually my wife that owns our roofing company in New Jersey, Falcone Roofing and Construction. We shut that down for weeks to prepare to come and help our residents, because our main hub now is in Florida. We wanted to come home and excited to help our community. And to have that ripped from you, and also the income behind that ripped from you, it's was like starting all over again. Honestly, it was crushing. So in the meantime, because of such the opportunity, we had denied opportunities for several other firms a little bit smaller than this one. This is a very large firm, been around for many years, that we were, again, over the moon excited to write for. So we let other opportunities go. So now here we are, 2 days post-storm. There's damages all around, and we're two experienced adjusters, and we're looking for a job. So a couple other shout outs to my friend Richie Coletti and Leak Busters Roofing. He didn't let us stumble. Another rainmaker. Shout out to Bill Walsh again. But Richie Coletti didn't let us falter one day, put us right to work, and we helped out. We helped out in some way.
That's awesome. We got a question here from Austin Blumquist. Said, I would say one of the biggest influencers in our space, but he's not given the recognition that he deserves. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching right now and you have not liked or followed Austin Blumquist's page, do that. It's freaking awesome. He has developed a product called Snow Grip. And it's probably one of the most innovative products that I've seen for the roofing industry, bar none so far. Pretty awesome. But he does brand collaborations with like Supercar Blondie. I said that it wouldn't happen, but it did. And so I've got to make something happen on camera, which I'm going to end up having here very soon for Austin. And then he also has done stuff with like Right Guard and Redbox and you name it, dude. Like, he's got all kinds of huge, awesome, big brand deals that he's done. If you have not liked and followed him, do that now. He's awesome. And guess what? He's a roofing contractor. He does this in and out every single day. This is what he had to say. Why do you think they reassigned the claims to other adjusters? What do you think that reason is?
Well, good question, Austin, and big shout out to you and much respect. In fact, forgive me, I was just writing down some of the info that Marquise was just sharing so I could follow you and keep up with you, because you are highly esteemed in our field. So thank you for your question. But initially, I had no idea why they would reassign it, because everyone within the room, with the exception of a few, were relatively the same experience level and amount of years served in the field. But the only excuse that they had given to us via email was the amount of claims that actually came in were not the amount that they expected. So they reassigned them to the more senior of adjusters, and that, well, the rest of the pack, which happened to be nearly the entire room of more than 30 of us that were there for that mandatory training, were left without claims. Well, I know what I know, and you certainly all know the evidence. The hurricane didn't skip through the state of Florida. It impacted the state of Florida, and certainly enough claims to filter through the rest of the room. So that, I guess, is still going to be part of that investigation. Let the APA filter out the what, why, and where they went. But I can only assume they either did one of two things: gave it to the ones that they're certain are in their pocket or on their side for 100% sure, and or sent the usual out, which they're evolving more and more into these days, sending out secondary inspection companies that are not licensed adjusters to just take photos. And you know the names. I don't need to say the names of those companies, but
I will. Speak now, ladder now. You guys, we tired of you guys.
Ching
We are
ching.
tired.
My man, the roof's down, the smart guy. You heard it from him, not me, but virtually the exact formula on what you said. And many of you already know that's the new way of things. They're going to send them out and write them all in house. So they got what they wanted, whether they went at it the right way or the wrong way, and at the expense of many honest individuals like my wife and I, and the great individuals in that room. They don't care if we're left out.
So what's crazy is there are some good individuals with Seek Now and Ladder Now. There are just very few and far between.
True.
I have had someone come out and I've had an approval with Seek Now or Ladder Now. I have had the exact opposite. I've also had very, very negative interactions with them when they come to an appointment. Most recently, I had an amazing interaction with a Seek Now individual, and I've seen him on Facebook. I've seen him all around in the area, and so for me, when it comes down to carrier fraud, when we're talking about a insurance carrier going into a disaster area and telling the adjusters, we are not paying for this. Like ladder assist aside, like that's criminal. Like you holding you're premeditating that you're not going to pay for what your policy says that it owes for. And you're training other people to not do that. So I think one of probably the biggest reasons why you didn't get those claims was because you said something. You spoke out with some other people, and the rug got pulled from you, and the rug got pulled from them too.
I happen to agree with you wholeheartedly. That's at least what the current evidence points overwhelmingly to. Again, I let the big dogs eat and let them investigate the facts, but the facts hit me directly at the heart and in the wallet. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, Marquise. You're spot on. Spot on.
Yeah. And, I talked a little bit about this. If you were watching, we were live about an hour ago with Blake Grissom. Blake actually seen your post and brought it up to me. We spoke about that. We spoke about carrier fraud. We spoke about what we feel needs to happen for this change. So I'm going to propose that question to you. What do you think needs to happen to make a change specifically with independent adjusting firms and the insurance carrier? What needs to change there to get them, I guess, more in line or just in better checks and balances?
Well, I would say there's a few things, but one is one that upsets many adjuster, and you probably have experienced this yourself. Why not full disclosure? Why not, especially in the digital age that we're at right now? Let's go live. Let's record every square inch of the inspection. If you've got nothing to hide and you're acting in good faith, not bad faith, and you're fair and honest, why would you have a problem being recorded? Everyone should wear a body camera just like the police officers do, because when there's fraud at this level, I mean, police officers are being held accountable and made to wear the body cameras because some of the actions of some of the unruly ones, or the ones that aren't following the rules, they've caused criminal activity and lives have been lost. So if it can happen on the police officer level, I believe it should happen at the adjuster level. Make them wear a body camera. In fact, a carrier sponsored one, and the special ones, as we like to say it, they should pay for it, and everyone should be supplied one. That's just one that I think should be just full disclosure. If you're being honest, you shouldn't have anything to hide. And then also, which we all know far too sadly, those reports and even the photo packages that the homeowners themselves ask for, they're told no. It's their home. Why wouldn't they be allowed to see their pictures? And that's silly and a whole nother topic, but that's one answer. The other one is I think that regulation needs to be changed, especially in some states. Florida's really changed a lot in the last few years. But one idea that I posed to a few people and Doug at the APA is, I challenge some of our big players in the industry, and many of you know who they are, but some of you big holding companies, why not do a self-insured by the contractors, meaning like offer an insurance policy or profile to the homeowners that should you have damage, don't call these carriers, don't call these people, call the contractors that are sponsoring this insurance and giving you lesser rates, not higher rates. And then you have now direct access to the people that are going to do the work, and they're going to treat you fairly and honestly. And again, keep everything as it is, keep everything, all the scopes and everything general with Xactimate and everything. Keep it that way.
I think that's a good idea, but I think that the big problem with that is that we already have a problem with insurance carriers, and contractors already have a bad name for themselves. So asking consumers to trust contractors to take care of them after a storm is hard. But at the same time, they're not getting their coverage from the insurance carrier either. So that's kind of a catch-22. Austin said, what is the best steps as a contractor working on these claims in 2025? And I think that kind of jumps into what we were going to talk about, some of these 7 steps, right?
Yep.
Also, Blake says, do you think having a roundtable meeting with carriers and contractors is possible? So maybe let's hit this question real quick because it pertains to what we were saying. And then we'll jump right back into Austin's question because that kind of transitions us into what we were going to talk to the second half of this segment. So to answer this, what do you think? Do you think having a roundtable meeting with carriers and contractors is possible? I think it's possible, but I think that it's going to take a lot of us to be able to do this. What do you think?
Well, as much as I'm hopeful, I'm also equally or overwhelmingly doubtful, and for many reasons. But any of you that have been to any one of our trade shows, Win the Storm, or any of those where it's been John Hoteling versus I forget the guy's name, the insurance lawyer, but
Steve Badger.
Yeah, well, Steve Badger with the face-to-face head off.
Yep.
There was so much anticipation and buzz within that I think that would scare every carrier off from even attempting to show up for those roundtable meetings. And again, now with that question, you're really asking for the integrity of the carriers to show up, because we all know contractors will show up in the masses, but the carriers are still going to hide, I believe.
You offer free barbecue and you'll get contractors from 7 states.
That's right. Especially Florida.
You're damn right. In Texas, I think you hit it right on the head. It's probably we're hopeful, but you 100% impossible to get some of those guys to the table, especially after what happened in New York City with one of the CEOs of a health insurance company that just got knocked off. So yeah, I do see, but why? Like, what's happening right now? Like, why did that even happen? Well, probably because somebody had a freaking denied claim. Somebody's dad died or somebody's uncle died, and somebody got pissed off and he messed around and found out. You know,
that was my first thought as well.
Yeah.
And second part B to that question is, I don't believe that they would show up, because then they would have to show up and answer for why they guard their profits more than they guard their people, meaning the homeowners, the insured. So we both know that when they show up and when they instruct us as they did, they're instructing that with the bottom line of their profits at hand and at stake. So they risk those same stakes with even showing up to a roundtable meeting. So I don't think that will ever happen.
I think that there needs to be some sort of answer though, like especially whereas it comes to what happened with you, your wife, and a few other people. We know that this happens. I talked about it in the podcast with Blake right before this one, where I had a policyholder that reached out to me in Victoria, Texas, after Hurricane Harvey, and they had been approached by Allstate with a $10,000 check if they did not file a claim. That is fucking racketeering. That's wire fraud. That's check fraud. That's all sorts of shit, all into one, and it's a fucking bribe. And so this right here, if we could catch them all, like we're talking about a huge a prosecution against criminal behavior that's been happening forever. I mean, since insurance has been insurancing. I think I said that in the last one. We're like, since Allstate's been Allstating, they've been denying claims, and whereas, you see certain insurance carriers, they have a rep for paying their claims, where there's other insurance carriers that have a rep and they just absolutely do not. This is kind of a longer, you can't see all of this live, by the way. Jose Rodriguez says, do you see contractors folding to a one-line item total in order to get volume from a carrier? I feel like with all the equity money coming, this might be a possibility sooner than later. To directly answer your question, Jose, I think that you're on the money. Like, you're straight on the money. I think that for me, I just opened my roofing company, Lux Roof Company. I know that's kind of hard to see. It's focused in on me. So anyway, Lux Roof Company, we just started a couple of months ago. We primarily do not service with insurance carriers because of these issues that we're talking about right now. And when I do, I provide them my estimate, and it's my estimate, period. I do not line item like you're saying. It is one kind of bigger, paragraph, if you will. It is detailed at what I'm going to do, what's going up there, etc. But I think more and more, yes, in my opinion, I think more and more contractors should. I don't know if they will, but I think they should go to this type of invoicing and or business strategy to stay on top of the times. Ultimately, we all meet with insurance adjusters. We speak to them on the phone. We get phone calls from people that have had denied claims and just need some help. And, when we get these, what do you want to do? You want to play a game with the insurance carrier about how much you can charge, when you can charge it, etc. Or do you want to just provide to them like you said, one line item that says, here, pay this, right? I think that's more leaning into the cost incurred model, where the policy holder pays half down, half upon completion in order to secure that. Because if they've chosen you, they have to choose you, and they have to have proof that they've paid you. And that's more of on the indemnity model. Do you have any thoughts on this, Vince?
Agreed. And many of you know, because of SB 76 law in Florida, that forced a lot of contractors to really go full retail and not even full with the insurance realm, because they got just tired of fighting. But long before that, many of very successful individuals in our field, Bradley Gardner, Steve Patrick, they came up with the term the lump sum contractor, and that's really that model by definition. And
yes,
what you do by doing that is, like you said, Marquise, you follow the definition of indemnification. Yeah. But what that really does is take those individual line items out of what I like to call the pencil whip. Because if you give them each more item, they're just going to break out that whip and say, whoosh, line 2 gone, line 7 gone, and they'll use the very same statutes and all the things that we try to get those approved with. They'll use them against you and say, well, this particular thing, we don't replace these because of this. So strike that from that, strike that from that. Meanwhile, you're watching your number go down and down and down and down. If you go with the one lump sum and you present that to your insured, your customer, and they sign it, and it's actually, let them submit it. Let them submit it. This is my contractor. This is my bill. And let them prove also, I gave them a down payment. My materials are on order. My permit is filed. Here's what you're going to owe this person, but really you owe me. Because when you do that, you're keeping your relationship between you and the customer, and you let them fight. You let them fight.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a freaking winner right here. Abso-fucking-lutely. And this is actually something that's been said in NTS, Name That Shingle. I've been a part of that group on Facebook since its inception. I posted a blip this last week about the difference between NTS and ITEL, and when you're submitting those, how that works. And, you know, John, that works for NTS, kind of, you know, made the assertion that, you know, you need to have the homeowner on board to begin with. You take this with the homeowner and you have the homeowner submit this information. That way the homeowner is the one that's in charge in the claim, and they're the one that's negotiating this. I wholeheartedly agree with this, because it is not our job as a contractor to negotiate or settle a claim. It's not our job. It is our job to be the construction expert. We are also not getting paid to sit here and argue with these people for ever until we're blue in the face about why it should be done. You know, just like you were saying, strike out your estimate because we don't agree with this. Like, excuse me, who are you to tell me what I'm going to do at this property when they've signed my contract?
Agreed. And maybe I'm sure you've experienced this. Even when they do agree to use Xactimate line items, you'll see that your shingle price has been adjusted to the current value, or what NTS or any of those particular entities that they're in bed with. Now, I'm sure many of you that are using NTS are not being allowed to, because State Farm and this one and that one do not recognize them. And I've even seen and heard this one. State Farm now has their own investigation or their own testing facility and their own thing. So they're not even going with the age-old method. So there's another way for them to pencil whip even that number. We'll agree to the line item, but instead of paying $98 per bundle for the shingle, we're going to pay $81 for that bundle.
Right.
And you can't even buy that for that. So that's again leaning back to just stick with let your homeowner, let that dog enter the fight and save you countless hours on the phone, which, like you said, you don't get paid for. You don't get paid for it. In fact, by definition, you're not allowed to negotiate as a contractor. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to look at policy. You're not even really allowed to look at anything but the line item and the scope. And the minute that they try and get you to negotiate, they're really leading you to leading you to the slaughter, so you can dip your toes into the alligator infested pool, so that if you do engage and you don't agree to their thing, they can now hang you on and say, well, why were you negotiating with us in the first place? Aren't you a contractor, not a public adjuster? Well,
submit your letter of representation.
Right. Exactly.
See, I just got that one from a carrier. They're like, they submitted it into my client and said, you know, if your contractor is interpreting policy for you, have him, submit his letter of representation. I've been so nice to the adjuster. I've been very, hey, listen, I cannot talk about those things because you're talking about policy. I don't know anything about their policy. I haven't looked at their policy. I don't know. I can't talk about those, but I can tell you what's going on with this construction, what it's going to take to bring it back to, what it was before, because I'm his friend and I've seen the house before. I've hung out here before the hurricane. And so, these are really good key points to be asking and to be talking about. John Tucker, he's another influencer in the roofing space that is definitely not talked about as much. I said, let them submit it. Sounds like our empowerment process with Friendin Roofing since 2022. Friendin Roofing, thank you so much for dropping by. John Tucker, we absolutely love you. Jose, we got a couple of comments rolling in here a little bit faster. But who owns ITEL, the insurance companies? That's pretty interesting to note. Which insurance companies, etc. This one's a little bit longer here. State Farm RLS is far superior to ITEL in NTS. 2 weeks ago, they had identified my customer's shingle 3 hours after collecting the sample. That's pretty hardcore.
That's good. That's first feedback. I haven't had much feedback with that new format. That's new to me, but thank you.
Same. Blake says, heard they came up with a in the field test. Shake my head. I actually heard about this as well. That State Farm and Allstate both actually have a system like this to test in the field, which I don't see how they can do that unless it's like, for us tile guys or guys that chase some tile, there are a couple of names that we know are disco, right? Like they're the entire line are disco. So we get up and we see the S tile or the flat tile, and we're like, dude, I know that S tile is disco. Like I can tell what that's like. Life tile, right? I can tell which one that is. You get up underneath it and you're like, yep, it's disco. You don't even have to pull it. You take a picture. Got one laying in the yard because it was flew off the the deal. With shingles, it's a little bit different. We got to get the right dimensions, English and metric. We got to know exactly what's going on. Like tile is pretty clear cut in my opinion, opposed to like shingle identifications, because there's so many shingles out there, so many people that are pushing it.
Agreed. And my first question that I ask is, how are you performing an in the field test other than a brittle test, which they run from? Let's do a brittle test. I've asked them many times right there. Let's do a brittle test. Oh, we're not allowed to. So yeah, what vast array of information are they bringing? Because they don't bring a manual out. What are they using to identify it?
Raymond Little captured them on Facebook, and now State Farm's afraid of brittleness tests. Thank you, Raymond. No, big shout out, Raymond Little. Freaking love you, dog. You're freaking inspirational. I love what you do. Erica Chapman said maybe they could teach their adjusters to measure the shingles. John Tucker says, Blake Grissom, they just want to commit felonies and steal. By the way, they identified the product incorrectly.
Sure. Waited to their side of the story always.
Absolutely. John Tucker, it's definitely carrier fraud. And that's the whole point of the discussion. That's what we started this discussion off 100%. And, I kind of want to reel back to what was said earlier by Austin, which is, what is the best next steps as a contractor working on these claims in 2025? So we see the issue, right? The issue is at hand, right? They're committing fraud on a day-to-day basis. But one of the best questions that I think that we could ask is, what's the next step as a contractor working these claims? Like, what can we do to change this? What can I do personally to help me and my clients? Vince, do you have anything on this?
Yeah, I've prepared a few things, and you can go ahead and share. Marquise had a great idea with what we could call this, but while you share that, give me a second. I'm going to put on my over 40 special glasses so I can read what I wrote. But I've got a few. Marquise called it, what did you call it? The 7 golden nuggets.
Oh, yes, 7 golden nuggets. I can't find it anymore. It's posted. It's online. Yeah. Hell, I forgot what it's right here. The adjuster's dilemma, exposing insurance fraud.
Okay.
technical difficulties. But yeah, he's got 7 golden nuggets. We were talking about this before. I think it's super crucial that we go over these because these are the next steps. This is what to do.
Well, I'm gonna probably bounce back and forth to what the order I initially had, but one that always is successful, and the golden rule is this: a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a video is worth 1,000,000. So if you want to skip trace yourself and fast track yourself to making millions in this space, then record everything, and starting with your own inspection. So certainly take a bunch of pictures, mark up the roof like you normally do, but don't just take a picture, speak to it. So when you're walking around on the roof, say, wow, there sure is a lot of missing shingles. Speak to it, whether the adjuster's there or not. Speak to it. Wow, there sure are a lot of hail impacts here. Wow, these shingles are destroyed, or these tiles are crushed. Especially, here's a little hint to our little ace in the hole at the end. I promised Marquise I would hold the golden ticket to the end, but a little precursor. If you have broken pieces of tile everywhere, maybe you want to speak to that video about maybe how dangerous that could be. Maybe, or just how many are shifted and sliding and out of place. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But speak to the video and educate your homeowner, and then also video the adjuster meeting. Now we all know, oh my God, they will run, duck, and hide. Do not record me. Do not record me. Or you're not allowed to record me. It's illegal to record me. Well, theoretically, if it was their house or their office, yeah, you're not allowed to record them, especially without their permission. But this is something that's fact. And any attorney or PA certainly chime in and correct me if I'm wrong. But if you tell your homeowner, or if your homeowner tells you, I would like you to record what goes on up there because I, Miss Purdy, I'm 81 years old, and Marquise, I'm not going to climb my roof, but I want to know what y'all are saying up there. Can you tell me, show me? Sure, Miss Purdy. Would you mind if I record what goes on your roof? Not at all, Marquise. I need you to. So record it, but to back yourself up, and so they can't run, duck, and hide, have her write you a note, man. Have her write it on a Post-it note or a napkin if she has to. I would like Marquise to record this whole transaction because I've heard the bad stories. My neighbor got burned. I was promised this, or I got denied a claim last year. So I don't trust the system, and I just want video proof if that's okay. And if they say no, they're dishonest to the core, because I've adjusted and been on behalf of carriers for quite a few years, and I've had contractors want to record me. Sure, come on, man, let's record it. I got nothing to hide. I'm going to chalk it. In fact, you can chalk your marks right next to me, dude. If whatever's evidence is going to prove itself. But if there's mechanical damage in something that you created, you might be recording your own fraud. Wise word to the wise: be careful what you do record. But if you're fair, honest, and with good intentions, and with the best of heart protection of your customer, the insured, record it. Why not? And again, for your own sake, to cover your backside, but really for the sake of the person that you're helping, the person that's paying you, the person that you're expecting to get a check from at the end of the job. So that's really who we should be in our best intentions in all of this, both carrier, contractor, PA, attorney. We should all be unified in the fight, not pitting against one another. So that just makes obvious sense to me. That's a surefire win to me. And just to give you a little bit of an idea, I've gotten quite a few denials overturned with a simple picture that when Mr. Adjuster makes a chalk mark, but especially when they pick up or pull up on a tab of a shingle and they lift it, capture that. And then when they say there's not enough evidence for storm damage or not enough evidence for replacement, don't argue. Just pose the question with that golden nugget of a picture. Well, if you're saying that the wind weren't strong enough or the hail wasn't near enough and it's not damaged, well, I'm not going to disagree. I'll just readjust my reason for replacement, and we'll just call it mechanical damage and your adjuster that we all know has got his hands on that shingle now, well, he did it. She did it. And
Yeah.
when I've done that, it's like radio silence for 2 to 3 days while the upper brass reviews the new evidence, and routinely one after another. After further review, we're going to go ahead and replace that roof. Of course you would, because you don't want it to be mechanical damage. And
right.
And then now it's your fault.
Or vandalism. And I think that's where Raymond Little, where he was recording, and there was someone recording Raymond even. Raymond, I remember seeing a video from Raymond, and if you go back and watch the video that somebody else posted as well, it's got a video of him pulling his phone out to video. So you can see someone videoing him pull his camera out while they're videoing, just to get the adjuster to convey what he just said again. Okay, right. You're telling me that I don't know how to do my job, but yet you told me to do it. Here, you do it.
Right.
You take the flat bar and you do it.
Yeah, I love that video, by the way. He uses the snake farm roof snake.
Yes. So what's number 2? I know we're getting close to an hour, so we want to kind of give these as quickly as possible. What's the 2 number nugget? What should contractors be doing in 2025?
I would say this, which you all get this when you try and actually discuss what makes sense with a claim. They want to ask you the obvious: are you a public adjuster, or I'm not going to talk to you? So make your phone call a 3-way phone call with Miss Purdy or Mr. Jones, Mr. Smith on the phone with you, because now you're not Marquise the contractor. You don't need to be a public adjuster. You're just as good as Miss Purdy's son or her nephew. And it's not you calling, it's Miss Purdy that's calling. So definitely when you place the difficult calls, don't place them by yourself. Place them with the person that you're helping. And again, back to our lump sum thing, you're letting the dog fight the fight. You're just the mediator at that point. You're just the contractor's source of reason behind the technology of what you're a specialist in, roofing and construction practices. And you let the fight really happen on the phone while you're just listening and helping and chiming in. But they can never use that against you, that you're not a public adjuster. You're trying to dictate and decipher policy and all this. No, I'm not. Miss Purdy is, and she's got questions that she doesn't understand, and I'm just trying to assist her in this process. So that's an easy one, and many of you guys are all doing that. The obvious.
Ricky Del Medico listening in from Colombia today.
Yes, sir.
And listening, there's absolutely no excuse to not pick up and learn some of this stuff. Like he said, knowledge right here, absolutely getting dropped. Lex Roofcoat, love it. Sorry to interrupt you. I just felt like he was people knew that he's in Colombia right now on vacation, listening and tuning in to get better at the craft and to provide benefit and knowledge and more. Like, this guy should be Austin, Blake, Jose, everybody on here should be a part of what Blake and I talked about in the last podcast, and getting together and holding some of these insurance carriers accountable, maybe doing a roundtable with them. I don't know if that has anything to do with the APA or if they want to weigh in on it, but I'm going to reach out to the APA and see if we can't make that happen. So let's jump back in. I apologize. We're covering nugget number 2 on what's the best steps as a contractor working the claims in 2025.
Yeah, so the nugget number 2 was an easy one. Any and all discussions that you have with the carrier, especially difficult ones, jump on the call with your customer on 3-way dial or on a speakerphone with them in the room, preferably, but get them in on it. That's an easy one that you all probably are imploring somehow, some way, but make it a point to follow that and just make it part of your SOP so that every one of your reps are doing it and you're not mixing anything and one's having more success than the other. So that should be something that everybody puts in their bag of tricks, but just routinely do that. And it'll really reduce your amount of time of fighting with senseless people, because they'll make real good sense when they're on the phone with the person that's paying them.
Right.
I'll jump into another one. I got a couple specific things in regards to individual types of roofing systems. Let's see. We'll jump into shingles real quick. If you're finding yourself battling shingle technology and they're wanting to talk to you about when the code was changed and when these things were changed and all these things, I always go to who's going to inspect your work. Now, I know in Texas, you guys aren't required to get roof inspections and permitting and stuff like that. Where Florida, you have to get several, but you don't have to, but you can. You can, right. Especially if you run into difficulties or you're going to incur a difficult carrier. Spend the $50, spend the $100, go pull an application for a permit. Let them know what you're dealing with. Let them know the shingles and its condition. And then when you get the suggestion or the denial with a simple repair from the carrier, turn that into Mr. Building Inspector and say, now I have to, I guess, adapt or change my scope or my original permit from we intended to replace it. And now they're saying that we can repair it. And well, these are the closest match shingles that are there because the original ones are not even found, and much less that the leak-proof guarantee that we try to offer is virtually impossible because of the differential in shingles and even the compromise of the underlayment, especially if it's felt and 15-pound felt. You're fighting a losing battle, and if you touch it in repair, you're going to be the one coming back to repair it again and again and again. So get your building inspector on board, but be honest and say, hey, I want to do things and be above board and be above reproach. So I have this shingle project here that I want to go ahead and pull a permit for because I want you, Mr. Inspector, the hired official from the state or the county or all the government that puts the regulation in place for the carrier and you, the contractor. I'd like you to be the determining factor here. Get them in on that up front. And then if there's any kind of discrepancy over materials or methodology or application, bring it right back to that guy. I said, well, I presented this to the carrier based on your recommendations, Mr. Building Inspector, and this is what they're telling me. And they'll be more than happy to supply you with at least an answer to an email that you send them. But a lot of good building departments will supply you with a document saying your permit application is denied because the intent to use these materials. Again, this is jumping back to a little bit of the tile. When you get this tile is available in this boneyard, they're suggesting that you use recycled materials. Take that to a building department and they're going to laugh at you. They're going to laugh at you because now should something happen to that segment of roof with the recycled materials or mismatch of roof shingles that could potentially become a leak source, not a deterrent, they're the one going to take the fall for approving the application. And then God forbid they approve the actual work, then they're going to take the fall. So they're going to be the first ones to say, no chance. So that's a one that crosses all applications of roofing, roof, tile, metal, TPO, flat, anything. But side and get on the good side, but the honest side with your local building officials, because that is what they're hired for. They don't have a dog in the fight. They're not in the pockets of the insurer or the contractor. They're hired by the state, the county, or the city to do their job. And they're going to do their job. Sometimes it may favor you. Sometimes they might make you do something that you didn't intend to. But if you practice those on a regular basis, you'll find more wins than losses. That's a one that should be in the immediate bag of tricks going into 2025, because the tricks keep on coming like rabbits out of a magic hat from the carrier side every single week. They did it in Florida. They're going to do it in state after state after state. So if it's not hit you yet, it's coming. So some of these things, they're simple, they're easy. Another couple other ones arm yourself with the right tools. If you don't know what a Hague gauge is, get one. Get one. I used to produce evidence which for hail impacts, everybody knows the size of a quarter. We all spend the same money. I would put a quarter next to a more than larger size quarter size hail impact, and get this. Well, that doesn't tell me the actual size and density and potential impact of that hail strike. If it's not on a Hague gauge, I don't recognize it. So
John Tucker weighed in. He said, "Is the building inspector liable though?" So this is something Newark, Connecticut. I was doing a claim, and I was fighting a certain type of insurance carrier, and did some of the same things that you had said, Vincent. I ran into an issue. This actually wasn't Newark. This was Sandy Hook. And Sandy Hook didn't want to weigh in on that particular subject. They wouldn't red flag the project for space decking, which was the issue that I was at hand. And so I wanted to get that paid for. Or the problem is that it was a cedar shake roof, and we needed to put regular shingled roof on it. So we won eventually, but it took some finagling. That goes down to the liability. And I would think that most building departments are going to try to limit their liability as much as possible, and to deny, delay, and deflect. Any kind of Texas that I've dealt with so far, I have ran into those issues currently. Erica Chapman says, our building code people do not care and will tell you that, especially on repairs. I agree with you, Erica. Even in one municipality that I was in, not San Antonio, but outside of San Antonio, I was told that they don't uphold to any kind of building code, and they don't care. This actually came from the chief of police after I asked for the department to give me something. The chief of police gave me that, and that was a little bit smaller of an organization, or a little bit, a town, R104.8. I'm giving some building code here.
If you give me a second to chime in on that specific, are building officials liable when it comes to that? They're not until it comes to the inspection, and then they have to stamp it approved or denied. And if they give you pushback or feedback saying we're not going to do that, or we're not responsible for that, go back to what we spoke about earlier. They don't have to answer you because it's not your home. You're the contractor trying to make a profit, so they don't owe you an answer. But the woman, Miss Purdy, that pays their taxes and that man's salary, essentially, he's getting paid from taxpayer dollars. If she goes to the building department and says, well, I want to know what they're doing up there, and I want to make sure that what they're doing is right, and I'm not just getting the short end of the stick, or I'm not just getting a quick patch and run. So let them go ask, and let them go knock on the building official's door and stand in line and stand there. If they have to, let them submit the permit application and ask for the reasons, because they're not going to tell them no, or they're going to give them a real good reason why they really aren't interested in answering. And again, you'll find more success in that than you will pushback. They'll probably push you back, the contractor, just because they don't want to go that far.
You ever go to the DMV?
Yeah.
You ever try to register a vehicle that's not yours? Like it was a gift or something like that? Like you buy a vehicle and you try to register it?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the same fucking shit, dude. You go to the DMV and they're going to tell you to go to the fucking tax office. And then the tax office they're going to tell you that you need to go to this office, and then you're going to go over there and you got to go to the historical society, and you got to go from the historical society, you got to come back to the DMV, and the DMV is like, but you didn't get this stamp over here at the historical society, so you got to go back. It's like back and forth. Ultimately, that's the construct of the way in which that these building departments operate, and we have to play the game and go through this. And ultimately, I think you hit it on the head. If you have the client pull that, if you already know that you're running into a discontinued issue or what have you, having the client pull that probably is in the best interest of the client, because they're going to get the information in a little bit more detail, in my opinion. Blake says, if it goes against what the code book says, then request that they put it in writing that they are making an amendment. This will get them to do the right thing.
Correct. I agree. Really good point, Blake. Thank you. That was great.
Absolutely. Erica says, we'll talk about it later, Blake. Mainly, you know, we got to look at this R104.8. We got to look at the way in which that we take care of the clients and that we push this forward. So to continue on, inspector, meet with the inspectors, having the inspectors on board, photographs. So you're on like 4, I think, on the golden nuggets. Yep. So we want to jump back into why and what contractors can do in 2025, and we've already hit 3 or 4 of them. So let's move right through these.
Yep. So going to other roofing applications. Don't know how much you guys are experiencing metal damages aside from wind affecting like tornadoes, but hail obviously impacts metal, and a lot of really impactful, deep impacts you can obviously see with the naked eye. But another tool, a very simple tool that you can go purchase at any hardware store, is a high-powered lumen flashlight. I mean, 1,000 candle lit power or better. The bigger the better, the higher power the better. And you want to return about dusk, like right before it gets dark. And the things that you couldn't see from 8 a.m. to 4:35 p.m., shine that light on it and it'll look like a golf ball all over that place. And then that's an easy fight for the stupid rebuttal. Well, it's cosmetic in nature. It's cosmetic in nature. Well, it's awful bad cosmetic. This is going to need a whole facelift. It's so dinged up. Let the flashlight do the work for you, and it'll light up the sky. It will light up the sky. So that's a go-to surefire winner for me with metal. And those photos they speak 1,000 words when you put the right lighting on it. The obvious, if you're not using the proper documentation tools and your photographic evidence, there's all kinds of photograph capturing and documenting tools and tips that you can use, especially AI. But one that I've used, and no, I am not sponsored, but I use them regularly, and both as an IA and as a roofer, and that's Company Cam. It's very, very easy to do and label the photo on site. So you use your little annotation thing, hit the settings, hit your text, and you can talk to text in there. Every photo you take, label it while you're there, so you don't have to remember later. Because when you send a bunch of files and bunch of photos into an adjuster, they're tired of looking at photos, and they're not going to really pay attention to many that aren't labeled. But when you send them in and they're labeled, you're telling the children's book story that a 5th grader or a 5-year-old in kindergarten could understand just by looking at the pictures, if you put some writing in there. You know, Mary had a little lamb, the sheep is white as snow, this roof is devastated, this whole thing must go. I mean, realistically, you know.
Oh my God, that was so fucking good.
Hey, shout out. I told you I was Vin DMC. I do have a little bit of rhyming skills, not like my wonderful wife, Melissa, who knows it all, but not to be funny, but relevant. Seriously, Company Cam, label your stuff, label them all. By photo number 10, the adjuster, the desk adjuster will just be tired of looking at your stuff, because your stuff's now submitted better than their evidence collectors. The Seek Now and those guys, they're not doing that stuff. They're just taking 25 photo minimum that they're supposed to, turning that in. So you have to be the difference. And That's our company, Difference Maker Collective. We make a difference. You want to make it different than anything that they've seen. Label your photos. We'll jump real quick into the next one, which is a lot of what we're seeing here, the R104B and all those things. If you're wondering what that is beyond a bingo number and you're waiting to yell bingo and collect your dollars, it's time to educate yourself. Yeah. Pay for some classes. Don't just go to these roofing seminars and summits and trade shows just to show up, drink beers, and yell, hoorah, we won. Yes. Pay attention. Pay attention. Take some notes. Study. Get with a prominent public adjuster or an attorney that is knowledgeable in the space, and they'll help you. They'll give you the facts. And again, if you're not sure with code, go ask the building department. And everybody uses a device this day. You certainly can dial up Google and just ask the question, what's the local building code regarding shingle standards in Brevard County, Florida? And it'll give you the best of what you can find, and read it, study it, know it, and then question the adjuster at the meeting on his knowledge or her knowledge. Because we all know that the person that shows up, they were probably a school teacher 2 weeks ago. They're just trying to up their salary base. You know, that they're not tried roofing professionals that have installed these things. So if your knowledge is above theirs,
they just don't. They're just ignorant at this time. So it's no hate against those people.
That's
because
right.
There's a lot of people that get into the industry and that's their entry. Sure. But we've got to be there, and we have to be the experts, and have to be the ones that have that. Erica asked, I have to go. Will someone please send me? This was great. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Erica stayed through an entire other hour episode. She's been watching for multiple hours at a time. Erica, you're going to get a gift from Roofing on the Rise for staying along for so long. Thank you so much. And I'm also going to send you these points that way that you have them. Ricky says, Difference Maker Collective. Ooh.
That's us.
That might be the name.
That's me.
That's it. Difference Maker Collective. That's what it is.
Yep. Difference Maker Collective. And that's actually number 7 on my list. We'll get to that, but that's the obvious. You can hire me. You can hire me. And I mentioned it on the post yesterday, many of which I'm sharing today. I give away free nuggets because I want people to win, man. I want you to win. And even if you just shoot me a call, connect with me, I'm certainly willing to help individuals like yourself, Marquise. You just started your roofing company. You just got your stuff going. I'm not coming to your door with an invoice asking you to pay me right now. I'm going to show you my value. I'm going to join arms with you. I'm going to walk you through each step, show you the way, do some inspections with you, help train your team. And then, man, when you said, dude, I'm a overwhelming source of knowledge base, then we'll discuss an invoice, man. But truthfully, my wife and I, we have a basic scale of what we do, but we don't have a hardcore, hard-nosed price, pay me or I'm out. Man, I'm here to help everybody from big to small. But realistically, for the big dogs that do truly need our help, you guys can afford it. We're not expensive. We just simply ask for time, travel, and expenses. I'm not making money on this. I want to help people. But I'll jump into our last topic, since I skipped right there to my number 7 on the list, which was hire me, hire we. My wife's the real genius in this. I'm just CSI home guy with in the field knowledge, experience, from door knocking to inspections. I've done it all, man, and I will be there with you. But my wife will help write your SOPs and show your back office what you're missing, and give you all of her years and years of knowledge and just industry hardcore earned wisdom. But jumping into what the real nugget that I was getting overwhelming asked questions yesterday. I have this tile claim. I have this thing. Because I did not call myself a guru yesterday, but I guess the way that I came across was like I'm the self-proclaimed tile guru. Well, I'm no guru. I just like to make common things common sense. So I'll go over a few things tile related. Again, some of these things you guys are already doing real quick. The TRI report, the Tile Roof Institute outdated or disco tile report. That's free. You can go download that right now. And what Marquis said, when you see that tile, that S tile, or that flat tile, and you think it's outdated, flip it over. There's a maker's mark on the back, just like the 912 or 920, whatever the silver markings is on your necklace. There's a stamp on the back. It might say Monier, it might say Life Tile, it might say Integra. But whatever that is, take your chalk, highlight it on the back of the tile so it stands out and they can't say, oh, I can't really see what that says. Highlight it like you're doing a little kid's chalk rubbing so it stands out. Then take a picture of that, find it on the TRI report, get your highlighter, highlight what tile exactly it is, submit that with your tile photographs and reason for replacement, and even do the diligence before. This is actually number 2 on my tile list, but do the diligence before you get that note that says that tile is available at this boneyard. Well, contact all of the boneyards or the recycled, harvested tile yards in your area, and do your research yourself, because sometimes they'll tell you there's 80 of these tiles at the boneyard right around the corner. You drive 2 hours to go even see if they're there, and that guy laughs at you in your face. He said, we haven't seen those things in 10 years, but they denied your claim, telling you you can repair that, and those tiles are right nearby. So that's an easy one. Many of you guys are using that actual tile is a recycled tile. Again, check your building code, which most American standard building practices simply state you should not, and in many states you cannot, use recycled materials for any application that you have to pull a permit for. In the state of Florida, it's any repair greater than 1 square. They encourage you, not that many contractors follow it, but anything greater than 1 square, you're supposed to pull a permit for it. When you submit that permit application, they're going to ask you for what materials you're using for that. Well, submit the picture with that outdated tile report and the recommendation from the carrier saying, hey, we found that tile, and no, it's not a JGA Beacon, it's not an ABC Supply, it's not at SRS, it's at Jimmy Bob's junkyard, and it's recycled. They're going to laugh at you, and we're not even going to approve your permit, so we're not going to show up to inspect it. That's an easy win. But do your diligence before you get that. Go do your homework. Again, pull out the camera and go walk through the boneyard and record it. Well, they're saying that this S tile's here, and I ain't finding it. I'm not finding it anywhere. And then keeping with the tile, there's also many states are color match states. Florida's one of 9. If you happen to be in that, that's an easy one. You might find that tile, it's not the same color. And if your home or resident or wherever you're working is in an HOA, this is, again, we're going down the list. Forgive me if I'm going too fast, but if you're in an HOA and they recommend repair, and you go find the tile that they're requesting and bring it to the HOA president, the guy that wants to fine people for grass that's growing out of the crack of their driveway. Show that guy, this is what I'm going to put on the neighbor's house, and it doesn't nearly match the color. They're going to say, no, you're making our property values go down because now that fine looking roof is going to look like a checkerboard. No, you can't use that. And then on that, have that HOA president, again, you might have to get your homeowner to request it. Have the HOA president write you an email or a letter saying, we will not approve a repair of such silliness or utter just absurd to do something like that in this valuable of a neighborhood. We won't have it. We won't have it. So again, let the big dogs eat. And a lot of times HOA presidents will be the biggest dogs that will bite the asses of the people that you're fighting. So let them fight for you. Again, try and be the small guy. I'm sorry I didn't start with this. Everyone's trying to fight to the top and eat with the big dogs. sometimes the best meals that are around are the scraps left on the porch that the puppies come and eat. Realistically, eat like a puppy first and take all the scraps that you can and eat to your heart's content before you try and level up like a big dog. Learn, 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 learn. And this is what I've always been good at, because I'm not the wisest of people. I did not graduate college. I barely graduated high school, but I've always been great at this since I was 4 years old. In fact, follow the leader. Follow the leader. If you're watching success in your industry, and I could shout out dozens upon dozens in our field, in our line of work, but if you're watching routinely the big dogs eat while you're snacking on scraps or hoping to just get to the table, well, don't try and reinvent the wheel. Play copy and paste. Literally everything, every move that they make, every step that they take, copy it, copy it, copy it, and somewhat make it your own. Make it your own. But jumping right back into it, we covered the Tile Roof Institute disco list. The letter from the building inspector we covered. The letter or note from the HOA president would suggested the letter from the boneyard for suggested harvested recycled tiles that can't be used. And this is what I always go back to with that argument. When the desk examiner says, why can't you use it? It's the same tile, it's the same shape, it's the same this. I'm going to ask you this question, Marquise, because I know you got a sweet ride. You, God forbid, you wrecked your Mercedes, which I think you did ding it up a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, I saw your post. You got a little fender bender. Okay. So now this doesn't happen in the auto space.
I didn't wreck it, by the way, because this is videoed and this is live. I did not fucking wreck my car.
Forgive me.
And I'm not supposed to.
My mistake. My mistake. I meant what I saw was a dent. I didn't say you wrecked it. I noticed that you had some damage to the rear end of your car, so clearly you got rear-ended. Clearly, but in your Mercedes, and again, this doesn't happen in that realm. It certainly doesn't happen in the health realm. You know, they do use harvested materials. God forbid you need a kidney, but that's life or death. I'll take one if I need one. God forbid. But in your case, in your Mercedes, Marquise, you get your claim approved and they're going to fix your Mercedes. And well, the body shop calls and says, well, we got your stuff ready to go. In fact, you're scheduled next on the list. But we tried to get all of the parts and we submitted the bill for the parts to your carrier and they approved all these things. But the trunk that is smashed on your Mercedes, Marquise, well, we found that at the Bob's You Pull It down the road. And you know, your car is real cool. It's gray. It's beige, champagne. Forgive me, I forget what color it is. But we found a white one. We found a white trunk lid at Bob's You Pull It. Would you be okay with that? Hell no. Hell no. And honestly, you're right, immediately. But why is it? We all know the answer, but they don't even try that in the auto industry. They just pay the body shop. The body shop. Pay the body shop. New part, new part, new part, new part. No matter if your car is a 1988 or 2025, they're going to get you the new replacement part for that piece and part routinely. And they're not going to throw things at you like we hear. Well, due to its age and condition and the amount of deterioration, we're going to depreciate its value, and you should be okay to use this recycled material because it's not in favorable condition from its start. Well, guess what? Neither was my Mercedes when I got rear-ended, but you paid for a brand new trunk and you paid for a brand new side mirror. But you want me to use recycled materials on Miss Purdy's home where the rain could come in and soak her contents, destroy everything that she holds near and dear, especially family mementos? Nonsense. But that's what they do. So do your homework. Beat them and be prepared to beat them at their game.
Absolutely. We got to wrap this up here. We ran about 30 minutes longer than what I usually run. Listen, this has been live. We could probably sit down and do another probably hour and a half conversation. What I'd like to do is I'd like to, you know, have you on again and let's go over these things. I also want to get out the information that a lot of the people that have asked for. So we'll get some of this together and we'll get these people that need some of this information out to you. Again, thank you so much, Vince, for coming along. If you're watching and you're like, dude, these guys have got so much knowledge, there's so much here, like and subscribe, please. It's probably the best way for you to be able to get on top of a lot of the trending subjects, a lot of the top education and innovations in today's market, because that's what Roofing on the Rise brings to you. We love our sponsors, and we are sponsored by the ROOFNUTS. Not only is it like an awesome sponsorship, but it's an awesome collaboration between two brands, between Lux Roof Company, between our Roofing on the Rise and ROOFNUTS. We're able to go out and run ROOFNUTS leads. It's freaking awesome. I have first knowledge of what goes on whenever you get out to one of these properties. The homeowner wants you there. You've got no contractor. It is probably one of the best outbound call center leads that I have ever gotten, because I know that I've got the wind data, I've got the hail data, I've got hail maps and wind maps from Hail Trace in my lead, and I could probably show you guys a sample lead in the future, which is probably what I'm going to develop for that sponsor, because I'm freaking absolutely head over heels for the leads. I love them, love running them. If you're wondering where to find them, click right here. It says get leads from ROOFNUTS. Click it right now. Just click, and it's a quick, easy form. It'll get you the information that you need to get on board with them. Again, Vince, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a live stream.
Well, I have one last nugget that I promised everyone, which we called the ace in the hole. Everyone was wanting to know the magic, the golden ticket. I will gladly share each individual detail, especially if you want the actual letter. But I use a letter that the simplest way I can tell you in your own way without having to hire me and actually get my document, which I gladly share with you if you do. But what you want to put in that letter in regards to tile is risk, because insurance is risk management. So when you get on a roof and that roof has bits and pieces that are shards of clay, tile, concrete that are everywhere, you want to get out that phone and record again. Speak to the damages while you're walking and you're seeing it, but film the homes around it and speak to it like, oh my goodness, there's so many broken pieces of tile here. I sure doesn't hope the next windstorm doesn't blow it over to the neighbor's house where that child's play set is and or hit Marquise's Mercedes and bust the windshield. But God forbid it clips one of those children that are out playing on that play set, and one of these sliding detached tiles that they're saying is not damaged because it's in whole condition. It's sliding off the roof. It's not attached. The wind broke it loose. But all of those broken pieces that they may or may not acknowledge as completely damaged, or only the corners broken, or they like to say it's footfall that created it. I don't care if it's footfall. It's a risk. It's a risk to property, but mainly it's a risk to bodily harm. Bodily harm. Remember those words, risk and bodily harm. Put that in a document in your own words, or better yet mine, and submit that to any denial. Anyone, put me to the test, because I've used this letter to overturn more than 100 tile denials and gotten success at every single one of them with one simple document that just proves risk and what could potentially happen for said risk. And do this: don't label your letter or your email to the carrier. You want to address it to Miss Purdy and let Miss Purdy know the dangers of her roof and its condition and all those little pieces, what potentially, again, God forbid, potentially these things become airborne debris and hit Marquise's car or hit the children next door and bust up their play set, or worse, their head or their body, or God forbid, anything. You watch Miss Purdy fight like a big dog at a dog show, like literally at a Michael Vick house party where they're about to fight Pitbull on Pitbull. Miss Purdy will absolutely bite like a dog because she doesn't want to get sued by her neighbor because of the things flying off of her roof. Risk, and prove the potential damages in regards to risk, especially bodily harm. Marquise, thanks, man, for the time, your efforts, your passion for the community, and all that you do to help everybody. Shout out to all you that certainly chimed in with your comments and your questions. Big shout out to Ricky Del Medico. Be safe in Colombia, my homeboy. I love you very much. We share a common bond with Marquise. And thank you to all of you that commented on my post yesterday. And just keep tuning in, because the things that are evolving with the APA, and as I mentioned, I can share so much, but the APA is active in our community. That's my last shout out, is to them. It is a member-based community, so sign up with them. Be a part of their community. Be active member of the APA, because they fight for us, the contractor. They fight for the homeowner. They fight for the insured, and they're not for profit. They don't make money. So what we support them with, it really allows them to join the fight. And many of our roofing communities sponsor them. So shout out to all of you that support the APA. But join them, man. Join in this fight. And it is a long and dirty road, but it's a long, dirty road best traveled with friends. Amen.
Amen. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a live stream. Thank you so much for coming along. If you haven't, like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next live stream. Have a wonderful day, and Merry